or good evening, or wherever you are on the globe. I'm Paula Marie Skelnick, and I'm the celebrant for today's ceremony. It's been co-created with Ken, as many of you know already. So on behalf of Ken and Elaine's family, welcome. So as you've read, probably in the order of ceremony that I emailed out this week, there's a lot of speakers going to be speaking today. And Ken's chosen a variety of speakers to help create a beautiful memorial portrait for Elaine. In addition, towards the end of the ceremony, we're going to break you up into small groups. We're calling them reception rooms. And we haven't delegated them to friends only or family. They will be chosen at random, but I'll walk you through that a little bit closer to the end. During the ceremony, your microphones will be muted until that reception segment. And like I said, the chat is only going to be used for technical questions or issues, and Marie will handle that for you. So feel free to change your name on the screen if it's not your name or you want to be called something else or referred to as somebody else. And then just go up in the top right-hand corner where it says view and change it to speaker view. So it would be really nice if we could all be gathered together in the same place today. But, you know, with the distance between us and all the other obstacles, it's just not possible. So let's give gratitude to Zoom, because it's the technology that allows us to meet together virtually. So I'd like to begin by lighting a candle, and I'm calling this the memorial candle ritual. So everybody just grab your candles, whatever you're going to light them with. And I invite you now to light your candles. I don't know if you can see back in the corner there, Ken's lighting. We light these candles to signify the luminosity that Elaine brought to this world. She always brightened up a room wherever she went. And so may your memories of her warmth and her authentic, sunny personality fill your room with her love. And now we sit and enjoy the warm glow of memories in the solidarity of grief that sanctifies our collective space. Grief is love. And if we didn't love, then we wouldn't grieve. Helen Keller once wrote that we, the bereaved, are not alone. We belong to the largest company in the world, the company of those that have known loss. And we are not alone. So let's just take a minute and send this love and light out to all the people that really want to be with us today that are not able to join us. And just holding your candle, it's going to be burning for the duration of the ceremony. So it may get hot and it may drip wax. So just set it aside somewhere where you can see it. We unite today in this heartful space because of our loss. It's a collective space, and it's a tender space. This is a place where we can all acknowledge that grief affects each of us differently. And some people get busy, and some people just get quiet. And at times, the grief from one loss will trigger the emotions from previous losses. And this can happen quite unexpectedly, so be gentle with yourselves. And please know that we understand and that we respect your choice if you decide to turn off the video just to allow yourself a little bit more privacy during this vulnerable time. If you turn off your video, you'll still be able to see and hear what else is going on in the ceremony. If we are to heal from loss, we must mourn not only the loss of Elaine, but the wonderful loss of Elaine, the wonderful life-loving person that she was. We also mourn the loss of the plans and the dreams and the times that we won't be able to spend with her. Elaine was an incredibly positive person. She was positive, caring, and kind, and she will certainly be missed. She had an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and shared her wisdom freely. And you will hear a lot of this throughout the ceremony. Her personal strength and her positive attitude and a sense of humor really served her well during her cancer journey. And her spiritual practices kept her buoyant in the good times and the not so good times. Elaine, with her immense knowledge of oncology, understood her prognosis. When faced with her diagnosis of terminal cancer, coupled with the unremediable infection, she chose medical assistance in dying, or MAID. She chose MAID over further pain and inevitable suffering. And Elaine died as she lived, on her own terms. Together we're here to pay tribute to Elaine Rose Richmond and to celebrate a life well lived. So Ken would like to start off by start off the personal tributes. And so you already know him both personally or virtually, I guess. I'm just going to simply turn it over to him.
Hi. I'm calling my few words Elaine Rose Richmond, an exceptional woman. Firstly, I'd like to thank you myself, all of you live participants from Australia, from Hawaii, in Canada, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Nova Scotia. Then there are those like Lynn Biggs from Duncan, whose actions have spoken louder than her words while Elaine was ill. The circle of Steveston friends was amazing. Christine, Anton, you continue to be on hand and continue to do that now by helping, checking Elaine's house, singing for her at the end of MAID. Joanne, you were there to be Elaine's medical representative. And Joanne is just getting over COVID, so thank you for being present. Thank you to Pam, Lori, and Debbie for showing up with barely any notice on March 26th. That was a tough day. The list is long. Over the last year, Elaine showed that she was the real deal. She was 24 karat gold beneath the beautiful appearance. Elaine and I had hours and hours to talk about everything, and we did. Spend 8 to 10 hours every day. She told me stories of her life with her family, her travels, and her career. You will hear about some of these. I was struck by her tales of young children, which she worked in that ward and was responsible at Shaughnessy Hospital. She could see wonder in those who were in wheelchairs or confined to hospital beds. She recounted stories of colleagues who she admired, like she spoke often of a Dr. Sperling at Burnaby General, who pioneered cancer treatment and then died himself in a matter of weeks as a result of a very aggressive cancer. That's the risk of working with cancer patients. I recall her story of another patient who required a mastectomy and was very distraught about it. And Elaine found her way of giving her dignity and a life of her own with husband and children who she thought would reject her. Elaine was very smart with educational achievements and was just very artistic with her painting and things like Brazilian embroidery and exceptional cooking. Elaine dared to take on life in all of its fullness. I recall her description of sitting in a room with the Mona Lisa in the Louvre and being transported by the feeling. The elephant, turns out from her, when she was very young, was a spirit animal for her. She saw the original in Africa and Asia. The elephant among other things, mourns in family groups like no other animal. Each one belongs. Each member of the group matters and is loved and protected as a unique being in the group. Elaine loved Hawaii, and she carried the deep and broad mystical meaning of the aloha spirit. Elaine, on her last day with us on Earth, showed courage that few men or women touch. She left with a smile. She really didn't go anywhere. I believe that her spirit is here today and more real than ever. In her thesis, which is a marvelous piece of work, she quoted William Blake and the words are, each person has a visualization of what will happen to them after death. This visualization affects all that they do in life. We honor Elaine by spreading the love and compassion that she thought she brought into the world and left it behind to be distributed in her name. As you know, she painted the picture that she called Love and Will. I did send out that slideshow, and it's in the background here. Featured at the end, and it's going to be featured at the end of the slideshow. I take it as a metaphor. Elaine told me that the picture of herself, which is the other one that you will see at the end, that accompanies the final song, Time to Say Goodbye, was her favorite of any she'd ever taken. On March 26th, she put her life's brush carefully into its box for the last time, packaged her paints, and left a canvas called her life. It's not in the Louvre, but she continues to paint on the canvas of my life like she was Da Vinci. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. You know, elephants have appeared ever since I met you. They keep coming in. There's statues and different things, pictures, and even stuffies. And they represent a variety of characteristics. In some places, elephants symbolize wisdom, and in others, it's a good luck charm. And so for me, I've welcomed every single message as it's come in. And as you know, elephants in many cultures represent strength. So Ken, may the elephants imbue you with strength and fortitude in your bereavement. For Elaine, the meaning of her elephant totem probably evolved over time, and her own qualities of intelligence, devotion, and loyalty echo the qualities of this majestic animal. And Ken shared with me once that Elaine was loyal as the day is long. Elaine dedicated a great deal of time and energy to making friends, to fortifying and maintaining her friendships, as well as bolstering her family ties. So Margaret Wilson is going to speak now, and she will reiterate this in her own words. Margaret? Margaret, you can unmute yourself.
Sorry. Elaine and I worked together teaching a pediatric course in nursing in Winnipeg in 1969. It was my first teaching nursing job. We bonded and we shared a lot of our work and personal lives with each other, and we had fun times. In spite of difficult situations at work and at home, Elaine was a strong, positive person. And Ken and I and our girls, Barb and Donna, remember Aunt Elaine as playful and joyous with a sweet smile and a great giggle. We moved to Saskatoon in 1979, but we and Elaine maintained communication until her passing. We visited her in Vancouver whenever we were on the West Coast, and we exchanged cards and emails and letters. We enjoyed hearing about Elaine's travels. Elaine and I shared a relationship with our loving God, and we prayed for each other. Elaine faithfully kept in touch, and Ken and I will miss our dear friend Elaine. Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks, Ken, and thanks, Margaret. What a treasure it must be to have had a friend for so long. Such a dear and loyal friend. Well, since leaving Winnipeg, Elaine covered vast terrain. She frequented Hawaii, and many would agree that Elaine embodied the aloha spirit. There are many layers to this holistic way of life, with at least an equal amount of interpretations for those words, those little root words that make up the term aloha. David Bray is a kahuna, and he summarizes the essence of aloha spirit this way. Come forward, be in unity and harmony with your real self, God, and mankind. Be honest, truthful, and patient, kind to all forms of life, and humble. And then he also stated that to the Hawaiian of old, aloha also means God in us. Elaine spent many months at a time. Oh, sorry, my computer's shifting. So Elaine spent many months at a time in Hawaii, often accompanied by her dear traveling companion, David. And many of you here have probably met David. Elaine made many new friends along the way as well. So joining us from Hawaii is Elaine's dear friend, Rosalind Perkins. She will recount how she met Elaine and then highlight some of the fondest memories of Elaine's visits. Roz?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Aloha, everyone. I'm Rosalind Perkins, friends with Elaine for many years. Thank you for including me in this last farewell, and really quite hard to believe. I'm sorry, I'm tearing up. I first met Elaine over 50 years ago in Hawaii. We both worked as RNs in a long-term care facility in Waikiki. I didn't know her well outside of the workplace, but I remember her as being very warm, sweet, skilled nurse, and very pretty blonde with a beautiful tan, which I envied but unable to emulate. 25 years later, I received a call from her. I still don't know how she got in touch with me, but I'm so happy that she did. From then on, we shared wonderful times together on her annual visits to Hawaii. Elaine, as you all know, loved Hawaii. She, along with Dave and whomever she could talk into coming each year. She said she did research and discovered she was part Hawaiian. Perhaps that explains her generous spirit. I had the privilege to meet and share happy times with those friends and family who she succeeded in coaxing to come each year. I'm especially grateful to her for introducing me to her friend Phoebe, who has become a dear friend of mine and who is sitting next to me here as we speak. Some fun times we shared, and perhaps these might sound familiar to some of you. We'll go to Safeway or Costco to stock up on groceries for their Dave and Elaine's time here. North Shore ride to see the sights and enjoy a Dole Whip. Giovanni's Shrimp Truck. Unity Church services. Swap meet at Aloha Stadium. Shared lunches and dinners, games, and taco nights. And also a wonderful trip to Vancouver with Phoebe. I am so thankful to have known this beautiful person. I will think of her each time I prepare one of her recipes, which surely won't turn out as ono, as if she was, make it as one of her many talents. So it's time to say aloha for the last time, my friend. And I'm ending with a familiar quote. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Rest in peace and love, my friend.
Thanks very much, Roz. Thanks for joining us today. And hello to Phoebe. And may all your sweet memories help to comfort you and bring you joy. Elaine had a real zest for life and a wanderlust. And we are joined here today by Brian Richardson from Australia. He has crossed ley lines and timelines around this great planet to enjoy adventures with Elaine. Their friendship spans decades. So Brian, I think you can tell it best.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Apologies about the camera not working. As you said, we're here from Australia very early in the morning at the moment, but we have the most beautiful full moon, and honestly it feels like Elaine's looking down on us. Let me start by saying Elaine has been one of the most wonderful, loyal and enigmatic friends I've ever had. We've known each other for 44 years, and despite the tyrannies of distance, we were always able to stay in close contact. We first met at Club Med in Tahiti, of all places, where Elaine was holidaying with some of her girlfriends. With her insatiable lust for traveling, several trips ensued. Elaine and her fellow travelers came out the following year to visit me in Malawi, Central Africa. I can still remember Elaine sitting almost trance-like in the minibus we hired to travel around in, as she soaked up the smells, sounds, and sights of Africa. And of course, the good old elephants were there. The following year, I migrated to Australia, and on the way decided to go via Canada, where I spent a memorable 3 months with Elaine and her many friends. This included several attempts by Elaine to do some matchmaking for me, still being single at the time. And as she put it, a surplus of ladies in Vancouver. They all seem to migrate to the West Coast, as you know, for the warmer weather. She also sent me off to a farm in Regina in Saskatchewan in the middle of winter and temperatures around minus 35 degrees. A first for me coming from sunny Africa. And yes, you guessed it, Elaine and friends were jetting over to see me in Queensland, Australia, only a few years later. This included visiting the Great Barrier Reef and staying at Hayman Island. The girls also travelled on to New Zealand. After this flurry of activity, our get-togethers were limited to numerous but shorter catch-ups in Vancouver and Hawaii. Elaine hated the cold, as you all know, and she spent as long as possible as in Hawaii during winter. This gave my wife Jenny and I a chance to share a few lovely holidays with Elaine and Dave in Hawaii. I remember watching the Oscars as they became a must-do event at Elaine's very good friends on the island. My wife still raves about the pulled pork and poi we had there for one of our dinners. We were very lucky to catch up with Elaine and Dave one last time in 2020, just as the COVID pandemic was taking off. We were staying together at the Ilikai and were both called back to our separate countries by our state departments. Despite the restrictions, we were able to spend some quality time together and eat numerous takeaways from Goofy's restaurant close by. Our only disappointment was not catching up with Ken, who was originally scheduled to be there with Elaine. Let me conclude by saying how hard Elaine worked to maintain her close friendships, and I've kept all of her wonderful handmade Christmas cards that she used to send out every year. I will always remember her. as a loving and generous person. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. It just sounds like such a delightful friendship. You got to experience so many wonderful things with Elaine. And I have to wonder, does the wanderlust ever end? And like the other speakers here, you've really underlined that Elaine understood that in order to be a friend, in order to have a friend, you had to be a friend. And she did that by always keeping up the communications. And that was even before the internet. So that's dedication. And Brian, thanks for sharing the fine results of the art and effort of sustaining friendship. Maya Angelou, she once advised her daughter that a friend may be waiting behind a stranger's face. And that very well could have been written by Elaine. Her natural curiosity about others opened doors to many friendships. And at home here, Christine Anton met her charming friend Elaine just by chance. So Christine, would you like to share? Christine, can you unmute?
Thank you. Sorry. I was Elaine's neighbor and I lived across the road from the cul-de-sac where Elaine's house was. And but I first met Elaine about 15 years ago on a sunny Saturday afternoon during the annual garage sale in our townhouse complex. My daughter and I were sitting in our carport and Elaine came by to check out our merchandise and we ended up chatting. I recall the sunlight shining on her blonde hair and what I thought were the bluest eyes I had ever seen. She was very pleasant and genuinely interested in who we were and what we did, particularly my daughter Laura, who was studying occupational therapy at the University of Victoria. It wasn't very long afterwards that Elaine invited me for tea and eventually to join the Yaya Sisters book club, which she had started. I had never been in a book club and I wanted to expand my reading experiences, so I agreed to join them. It's turned out to be a very rewarding experience, and I now have about a dozen new female friends, thanks to Elaine. As I got to know Elaine better, I developed a deep respect and admiration for her curiosity about people and what made them tick, her insight and compassion, and her delightful sense of humor. She was incredibly supportive of me during some tough moments, something for which I'll always be grateful. And she did the same for many of her friends. It was the great honor of my life to sing for her on the afternoon she left us, an experience I will never forget. Elaine was also one of the most organized people I've ever known, always thinking ahead and being well prepared. I think we in the book club all felt the same way about her. And I know that we all want to continue meeting to share books and friendship with one another. Elaine and our memories of her will be an enduring link for the Yaya sisters. As she often used to say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. You will be forever missed, my friend. Thank you.
Ah, thank you, Christine. Is somebody unmuted? Okay. Are you, is anybody else getting another voice? Okay, all right. So in her book, The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood, Rebecca Wells writes, The point is simply this: how tender can we be? What good manners can we show as we welcome ourselves and others into our hearts? What a great starting point for a friendship, Christine, and what a great starting point for a book club. And so, Christine, may you and the Yaya sisters, retelling your stories and your memories, sharing your memories, invoke Elaine's joie de vivre for many years to come. Elaine's insatiable quest for better understanding of the depths of illness, mind, body, and spirit, led her to seek out education and expertise for support in her desire to improve the lives of both the patient and the practitioners. Along the way, she forged many professional relationships and cemented the bonds for friendship. Elaine was a well-respected well of knowledge when it came to oncology. And as you will hear, she was the catalyst for positive changes in the oncology departments she managed. She was a true vanguard. Lynn Big is a very dear longtime friend of Elaine's, and she knows firsthand the dynamic arrays of skills that Elaine brought to her career. Lynn?
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Okay, perfect. Yeah, today I've been asked to say a few words about Elaine, the oncology nurse. Basically, not as a friend, although I could go on for that forever. You've heard some of the details of her early years in Winnipeg and her Hawaii and her teaching. And knowing Elaine as we do, I mean, her bright, sunny disposition, her intelligence, her unfailing interest in every individual, her inherent compassion, and her strong sense of duty, they all would have made her a favorite among patients and staff in any of her nursing areas, but particularly, I think, when it came to oncology. She was able, when I saw her walking through her oncology clinic, she spoke to every staff member and every patient. She greeted with that wonderful smile of hers, and she was able to project her attention directly to that individual. Everyone felt that they had her total attention when she was speaking with them. Now, her organizational skills were exceptional. And it was kind of later in her career that she actually got into oncology, and she entered it at the Shaughnessy Hospital, which had an oncology clinic at the time. And as nurse manager there, with her skills, you can bet very quickly she had it running smoothly. Her empathy and compassion for those receiving treatment resulted in a very patient-centered approach, something she believes was starting to be sorely missing, I think, by the time she became ill herself, unfortunately. But when Shaughnessy Hospital closed, it was a bidding war as to who was going to get the clinic, and Burnaby Hospital won. So the clinic was transferred there, lock, stock, and barrel. Elaine and her team went with it. And who better to oversee the success of the move, ensuring that the quality and patient focus were maintained throughout the transition. Her Burnaby Clinic then served as a model for others like mine, which was just small and just taking tentative steps forward. And this is where I connect with her. I was attending one of the community oncology conferences in Vancouver in the mid-90s as a totally overwhelmed representative of the new one nurse chemo clinic in Richmond, when I met this petite blonde dynamo, so confident and knowledgeable, but at the same time friendly and full of fun. That dynamo was, of course, Elaine, and lucky me, she took me under her wing. I was able to visit her clinic and see how smoothly things functioned there. She had built a team that made sure that her patients had access to all the resources they needed to support them through their treatment journeys. If they needed something, you bet she would get it for them, whether it was music therapy or more social work, she would make sure they got it. So it was a wonderful model of care for me to aspire to, and she was always there with advice and words of wisdom. I was also impressed with the great respect of all the team members that she had for her. It's not often that you see a manager carry the friendship of staff on holidays and indeed into retirement. That was who Elaine was. And she was able to tie together threads of work friends and other friends and knit something into a wonderful holiday like the one we had in Europe, where she had some of her old staff friends and me and another friend from other places. It was wonderful. So Elaine, you're up there. What a bonus when we discovered we lived near each other and we became the best of friends for life. But more than that, as a nurse, you helped support me, making me a better nurse and a stronger leader. How many more like me have you nurtured? Too many to count, I expect, but they will have passed on those lessons taught by you, and on it goes like the ripples out of a pond, but I think with you it's in the ocean. Your influence lives on, my friend, and we'll miss you, but I know you're there. Thank you.
Wow. Thanks, Lynn. How fortunate to have found a mentor that eventually became a friend. And a wise mentor turns into the shared values and guides people along the way to what they hold dear. And Elaine certainly did have a keen sense of how to pass her knowledge along in ways that would benefit others. She led by example with both her behavior and her actions, and they exemplified her caring and compassionate nature. So thanks, Lynn, for highlighting so many of Elaine's qualities. And bravo for you. Bravo, because you were the wise mentee that allowed the relationship to form into a friendship. So very nice. And I know she will be missed. Elaine inspired and encouraged personal and professional development. Her wisdom, guidance, and leadership were held in high regard, both in and out of the workplace. Elaine intuitively saw the potential in everyone, and her light lit the flame for others to find their way. She fed the flames for the others with her compassionate support wherever she went. And so Gloria McCarter will attest to this in her tribute. Gloria?
I'm here. Can everyone hear me? I have a raspy throat, so I have my water handy if I need it. When my husband and I moved back to the West Coast, we moved to Richmond, and we lived in a Hollywell Drive, lived in the cul-de-sac there. And Elaine lived at the corner of the street, and that's how we met. We had conversations in the cul-de-sac when we were out walking, when we visited in our home. So this was October of 1980, and what a wonderful welcome for us. In '88, I left my work in personnel and human resources, and I began studies in counseling psychology. Elaine was excited for me, and this was an inspiration that I needed as an adult student returning after so many years to university. She and I both received our masters in counseling psychology, just at different halls of learning. Elaine was a dedicated health professional and an innovator of new ideas in healthcare. I was in awe of her wanting to enhance her life's calling with counseling skills. When my husband and I moved to New Westminster, with another Vancouver suburb, Elaine and I continued to get together as best as we could. We were now lunching often, and dim sum was her favorite. Elaine was an effective encourager, because this was a new experience for me. Thanks to her, I acquired a taste for dim sum and then a definite enjoyment. Elaine keenly listened to how I was enjoying my private practice, counseling practice, and her strong work ethic has rubbed off on me as I'm now in my 32nd year of my work. No doubt her counseling skills were helpful to her staff, co-workers, and oncology patients. She also had a small private practice, and I felt so honored when she would ask me for suggestions on how she could guide her clients. She was so proficient and insightful and really did not need any of my input. However, she was always open to new possibilities and options. Elaine's ongoing support and interest in education were factors for me to make my decision to get my doctorate degree in psychology. Elaine openly expressed her respect for human beings and in their uniqueness of how they contributed in their daily lives. She admired and acknowledged the gifts and talents of each person, and she loved to learn from what they were learning. She could create both peace and enthusiasm in the midst of suffering. She knew how to help people feel good about themselves, others, and the world. In her natural style, Elaine taught me much about the benefits of approaching life in a practical and so this is how it is way of being. When my husband was diagnosed with vascular dementia and I became his primary caregiver, our connections changed. She acknowledged my difficult journey and she was in time to embark on her own. I now have a sense that she was sharing her strength and optimism with me as we were walking our different paths, still in spiritual understanding. Elaine taught me about the energy of emotional connection, even when physical presence is not possible. She has been a true example of both compassion for others and self-compassion, a concept so evident today as a necessary ingredient for physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. Thanks, Elaine, for such a fine legacy, leaving with my love for you in your heart and leaving your love for me in my heart. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Bo. And what a legacy Elaine has left. For everybody, I think you're all feeling that there's a big hole, right? A big void left in your heart. But let the memories of her help to fill that. Ken has compiled a visual tribute, and it spans her life, both highlights her adventures and her accomplishments. So everybody just sit back and relax and enjoy.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. my wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. Oh, night, I can fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. 'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings. Oh, the wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings. Fly, fly away. You let me fly so high. You, the wind beneath my wings. Oh, the wind beneath my wings. Fly, so high against the sky, so high I almost touch the sky. Thank you, thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings.
Well, I think we all agree that that was a very, very full, well-lived life. Yeah, what an adventurous life. Elaine was born and grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and she was the eldest of 8. So safe to say that her responsibility, her sense of responsibility, and her leadership skills developed quite early in life. She drew from the roots of her religious upbringing throughout her life. She always lived by treat others as you want to be treated. And the fruits of her integrity are in her many friends and, of course, in the sweet relationship she has with her family.
Hi, I am Tara Springenatic. I am Elaine's niece. Pam, my mom, is her youngest sister. When I think of Auntie Elaine's qualities, ironically, her voicemail comes to mind. I'm sorry, I cannot come to the phone right now, but I would really like to talk to you. She genuinely did want to talk to people, to hear their stories, to be a part of their lives. This authentic curiosity was admirable trait she possessed. I recalled her telling the story of once talking to an artificial intelligence in Honolulu for 45 minutes and being super fascinated by all that it had to tell her. When I think back to Auntie, any ounce of class I possess, I attribute to her. She was a lover of fine arts, and I am internally grateful that she shared this passion with me through Cirque du Soleil, through opera, fine cuisine. I have many, many treasured memories of these things. Auntie Elaine was stubborn, which of course she got from Grandma, her mom. But her stubbornness allowed her to be an independent spirit. She was the eldest of 8 siblings, and I'm sure you had to be your own person with that many mouths around. She had a love of learning that kept her in post-secondary. Her love of learning continued throughout her life, and she is the epitome of a lifelong learner. She manifested in cooking classes and pastry lessons, card making lessons and book clubs. She used to say, "You know me, I'm always busy, And then she would share what lessons or groups she was a part of for that week or what new skills she was working on learning. I will miss the small things. At Christmas time, she would make a spread of baked goods and she would bring them. And so many of my memories of my grandparents are anchored and attached to her because she was there. She always showed up. She always showed up for celebrations, for weddings, for dinner rehearsals, baby showers, get-togethers. She was always there for family. She always cheated at the $20 Christmas steal a gift, and she'd always spend over the dollar amount, and we always knew which one was hers. I miss her. I miss her. And I am forever grateful for all that she shared with me. And I will always remember her. Thank you.
So thanks to Tara. And as we know, grief is a process. And we must act in ways that are true to our deepest instincts. Alan Wolfelt, who's a grief specialist, he has a mantra and it says, the only way with grief is through. And grief is a releasing process, a healing journey, and for many, it's a discovery process. So we need to trust that our heart is large enough and strong enough. Please be gentle with yourselves. And to Tara, may the gratitude you feel for having such a caring and present aunt help to comfort you. Elaine enjoyed family festivities and made a point to show up, as Tara just said. She contributed in many meaningful ways to her family because she believed in the importance of having a shared experience. And here to share his impression of his Aunt Elaine is her nephew, Brian Warren. Brian?
Hello, everyone. I wanted to share a few words about my Aunt Elaine and what she meant to me. Elaine was the kindest, sweetest, gentlest person I've ever known. Her passing has left an unfillable void in all of our lives, and she will be greatly missed by all of the many people that she touched during her life. Elaine always listened eagerly and shared her joyous and optimistic personality with all of her nieces and nephews. Elaine never had a bad word to say about anyone and seemed not to have an ounce of judgment within her. She cared deeply for her family and friends and had no trouble showing it. I remember when I was a young kid visiting Grandma and Grandpa, and Auntie Elaine would come visit and take me to do fun things like going to Science World. She always made me feel special and loved and heard, and she always wanted to share her joy of life with everyone around her. She was always genuinely interested in the lives of all her nieces and nephews and shared in our triumphs and victories. As we said, she always showed up. Elaine shared with me her love of learning and was an avid learner and seeker of understanding throughout her life, and I thank her for helping to instill this quality in me. Elaine left us too early, and we will miss her dearly, but she will live on in reverence in our collective memory. Goodbye, Elaine, and thank you for everything you did for me.
Thanks, Brian. Every man is a quotation of all their ancestors, wrote Emerson. And so, Brian, may your quotations of your Aunt Elaine reflect the wisdom, kindness, and understanding that she so generously shared. And let it allow you to steer forward in your highest good. So now we'd like to wrap up this section of the ceremony. And I think you all have a beautiful soul sketch of Elaine Richmond. And we're going to wrap it up. And it's not the end, but we're going to just sort of end this section with the ironic blessing that Ken has, he prepared a video of it for everybody to share. And it's the blessing that he and Elaine repeated every single night. And it's a blessing that, of course, nourishes both heart and soul. Quick edit, but that was part of the video. Ken's just commenting that it was very, very long. He edited it shorter. So now it's time for you to be able to express your memories to each other. And we're going to move into the reception rooms. And we're going to move into them for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to bring you back to this main space. We have a few things to wrap up with at that point. As I mentioned in the beginning, there's no family or specific or friends only or colleagues only rooms. They'll be chosen at random. And when you enter and exit, you may find that there's a bit of a delay and there's little just be patient. It'll take a couple seconds to get in and then come back to this room. When you're in the room, you can unmute yourself. And then to get the conversation started, maybe the person whose name, their first name, begins with the closest at the beginning of the alphabet. So in alphabetical order by first name. How about if you share it in that order in your group? And if you still feel stuck in what to say, how about if you make some legacy statements or fill in the blanks of legacy statements? And a few examples of those would be, Elaine and I shared a love of, and I am grateful that Elaine showed me or taught me or inspired me to do, fill in the blank. And so Marie, can we put everybody into the reception rooms, please?
Back to the main, but it didn't happen, so.
Same with me, so maybe we're not allowed or others are still talking, I'm not sure. Well,
and I'm not going to hit leave, which means we leave completely. So.
I think you're right, yeah. I think I will just stop clicking and wait and see what happens.
So are you teaching, Allison, with your master's in education? Or?
No, I'm a behavior consultant. So I went and did a board exam after. So I'm a behavior analyst.
Where do you do that?
I work with possibilities. So I go in family homes and group homes. I work with a lot of adults in group homes to get behavior plans together, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, possibilities is a wonderful region.
It's a big one for sure. Yeah, I'm happy there. I'm on maternity leave currently, but I will return in next month.
Ah.
Allison, my daughter, has a Master of Education from UBC, and she too is on maternity leave.
Oh,
yeah. So we're in Williams Lake. Christine invited me. I've known Christine for almost 40 years.
Wow.
She invited me on a road trip, Thelma and Louise, to Williams Lake. We're celebrating her friend from childhood's husband's 80th birthday.
Oh,
we're celebrating life, and I'm delighted to be a part of it. I don't know a soul, but we're just having an absolute blast.
Good.
So we have to
Okay,
live
let's do
every
this.
moment, right? Because you never know.
Yes. Oh, I see. They're mixing us up. They're continuing the,
Oh, are they?
yeah.
We're actually closing the breakout room, so anybody who is
Oh, then we're all
still,
coming back together.
yeah, anyone who's still in the breakout room will be coming back, and it's in 26 seconds.
Oh, yeah? Are you going down there? Oh, yes. Where is it? Yes, yes. Okay.
Hello, everyone. As people come into this main space, you are going to be muted.
Okay, good.
Okay, and we'll get you to stay muted. And Marie, is that everybody back?
Daryl. Hi, Daryl.
Okay. All right.
My video's finally working. Good to see you all.
Oh, good. Hi. Okay, and can you mute yourself?
Yeah, you weren't hearing me to say yes. People are back.
All righty.
And everyone is muted, but you.
Okay. About
And
me.
me.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it was nice to get to see a few faces in the reception rooms. It wasn't very long, but we were noticing that people were already, leaving or getting a bit antsy. So welcome back to the main space. We have a few more things we'd like to do before we wrap up. And so first, as a celebrant, I offer you my blessing. May we remember the cycles of life, and remember that the cycles of life continue: birth and death, love and loss and renewal. May we all be part of the endless and mysterious cycles, and may we remain open to the spirit of life and to mystery. May the memories of Elaine remain in our hearts. The eternal gift that Elaine gave us is her presence in our hearts. And that is something to cherish. And that is something nobody can take away. May your fond memories be a source of comfort and sustenance. And may the lessons of her well-lived life light the way, and light the way for you to follow the guidance of your higher selves. So we're coming to a close, and I'll get everybody to just take a moment and imprint the candlelight into your minds. And know there's always light in darkness. And may we also know that we are not alone in our bereavement. And now just take a minute to extinguish our candles, knowing that the light of Elaine Rose Richmond will live in your hearts forever.
Say that this was the song that Elaine
Yeah.
asked.
So, oh, hello. Wait a minute. Can we just pause for a second? Okay, go ahead. So this song will end, and you can exit at the end of the song on your own. And this final piece is the song that Elaine had chose for the interment, but she didn't, it never got played. So to Elaine, time to say goodbye.
When I am alone, I sit and dream, and when I dream, the words are missing. Yes, I know that in a room so full of light, that all the light is missing. When I don't see you with me, pull up the windows, bring the sun.
Can you hear me? So I would just like to end by saying thank you to Ken and thank you to all the participants, the speeches that were made for Elaine's memorial portrait, and for everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Be gentle with yourselves. Hello, little one. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Do you want to say anything?
Thank you from me. It was a big effort over a couple of months. And I think Paula did a great job. Thanks all of you that came and participated and helped.
Should I say bye-bye? Bye.
Yes. Hi there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Thanks, Margaret. Thanks. Oh, Denise has just left. Glad you got in at the end, Daryl, with the video.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thanks for putting this on, and you've been great. And really appreciate it. I'll see you later.